I think Zulu Niner says, if you should be expected to submit and dedicate themselves as a woman, then that should be an expectation for a man too, in my opinion. So if a man is in the mental concept of you can be replaced, then how are you any better?
I know that's right, Zulu.
Yep, I agree with that.
And again, I don't think
Men don't submit to
high
women.
value men are not ran through as well.
No, you can't have two leaders in a relationship.
I don't think that's what the person was saying. I think they were talking about the mental concept of being replaced for something better. I don't think they were talking about submission. I think it was that specific aspect of the sentence.
Sure.
Yeah.
About like viewing people and partners as interchangeable, replaceable.
Yeah.
And also, when you marry, you become one. So when you become one, that means you are the leader together for the family, for your relationship.
No, you're not the leader together. No, you're not the leader together.
Yes.
When you marry, no, you're not both equal leaders. That's not even true legally. You can't have 50% of ownership or direction over anything. From a Christian perspective, which you were sort of LARPing as before, Red Shirt, you were like, oh, you get married and God, my thing is to God. Well, no, we're both to be submissive to God, but if you're talking about Christianity, it's hierarchical and patriarchal. That means there's a high priest called Jesus Christ, and beneath that, there are men, right? And so men actually lead the family. The man is the head of the family, and the woman is the neck. They work together, but they're not equal partners, okay? They're not equal leaders.
Yo, Billy Bob shut it down.
But like without a neck, there's no head, right?
No.
Right.
No.
So it's again,
it's a give and take.
It's exactly. There's not one without the other. Just because, like, if a man's a leader, there has to be someone to lead, right?
Yeah, but they have to follow.
Right.
Do women have to follow?
And they also have input in the situation.
Do women follow? Yes or no?
Yes.
Do men follow?
No, men don't follow women.
If a man wants a woman that's a leader, that's definitely a thing.
Like a cuss.
But keep that energy. Keep that energy. You better initiate. You better go 50-50 on the first dates.
Yeah.
Don't expect him
If
to
that's
protect
what you guys
you.
want.
Don't expect him to protect you. Don't expect him to make decisions. Oh, what do you want to eat? Whatever you want. If you want a man who's going to be a leader, you got to be a follower. Otherwise, go deal with the soy boys.
Right.
But you can't be demanding a man be a leader and holding to his traditional gender roles, and you're a modern woman.
I don't think anybody's saying that, or at least
Yeah,
I'm
we're
not.
not. Yeah.
No, I don't think
We're
that's
not
what we're
saying
saying.
that at all.
But okay, here, let me think of an example here. What's a good one? Oh, okay. You're dating. Do you want to like have a career? What's
Me?
your yeah?
I don't really know what I want to do right now. I'm just focused on soccer, but honestly, I would be okay with being a stay-at-home mom. I'm not gonna lie.
Same. That's
Okay.
the truth.
I would love to stay at home and take care of my kids and cook and clean. I like
homemaker.
cleaning, so.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I would love to do that too.
Homemaker.
I think that's
But
what
I
we've
wouldn't
been
mind having a
trying to,
career
like-
either. I don't really know what I want. I am 18
What
years
if you
old.
were? But so yeah, you're young, so you're still kind of figuring out what your potential interest could be.
Yep.
You're still working your way through school, whatnot. So
Yeah.
you're not exactly dead set on that. But you do say you could see yourself. Well, it's hard because you said I'd like to be a stay-at-home mom. So there are women. This example I would give would
Yeah, they would be
better
like, oh, I don't
suited-
want to be stay-at-home mom.
Not necessarily, but there are women who would say, for example, I want to prioritize my
Like their
career,
career, yeah.
and my career, whatever, perhaps it's in a creative field or something.
Yeah.
I really want to keep working, and I ask, well, let's say you met a guy who could support you and you didn't have to work, but he was like, his standard was, in order for you to be with me, I want you to stop working and I'm going to take care of everything. There are women who will say, nah, I'm going to keep working.
Well, yeah, because some people enjoy working, and so it's like if that's what they value over the being a stay-at-home mom, that's what they value, and it all comes down to preference.
Yeah, and sure, but that wouldn't be submissive. That wouldn't be following his lead.
I guess I don't understand what you're saying.
Following a lead would mean that if you had a preference, if you had a proclivity toward like going out or doing this or that, and you were in a relationship where, let's say you were married, let's add children, being that you want to have children. I love that. Is that what Brian is saying is that following the leader might include abandoning some preferences. So that's why we asked you early on, Chair 7, or what's your name?
My name's Mac. Or McKinley, whichever's easier.
Yeah, early on, we got into, well, what's the threshold where you start to abandon your preferences? If you think that you want to have children, I would ask you, how many could you see yourself having?
I don't know why I've always just thought about having 3 kids, but then sometimes I'll go back and be like, actually, I don't know if I want to have any. But that's not because I don't want to have kids. That's more because of like, I'm scared to have kids, like just with like how society is. But I do want to have kids, and if I did, I'd want 3.
Okay, cool. Well, let's follow your preference happiness standard for a second.
Okay.
Do you think you'd be happier as a mother with more energy or less?
What do you mean? Like just in general?
More energy.
Physical
energy.
Well, no, I probably wouldn't have as much energy. But I'm a pretty high energy person, so.
Well, the question is simple. Would you rather have more energy as a mother of 3 or less?
More energy.
Okay. If you think you want to have 3 children and you want to have more energy than less, wouldn't it follow that you might prioritize having children earlier than later?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean she has
But
to
I'm
start
18, so I don't want to have kids right now.
Okay, hold on.
I want to say something when you're done.
What preferences right now are more important than the long-term choice of having children and filling out the vision of your life that you say you want here on this podcast right now?
Yeah, before I want to build a family and a relationship, I want to make sure I'm happy with my life because I don't think it would be good. No, I don't think it would be good for me to have kids if I was unhappy. I don't think I would be a good mother. So I want to be content with. Hold on. No, you hold on. I'm answering your question. What do you mean?
What if your determination of what makes you happy is given by a standard without children, and your standard for happiness?
I don't even think it's just about being happy. It's about being ready.
Hold on, pink shirt. What if your standard that you're using is completely closed to just being single right now, and so your evaluation of what makes you happy could fundamentally change? I certainly, and maybe people in the chat, or maybe anyone else who has had children, when you hold your child for the first time, I promise you, the things you think are your preferences and the things you thought made you happy, I'm telling you, if not fully fade away, partially fade away. And that's why I asked the question. It seems like, to be fair, do you admit that you're judging your standard for happiness from a pre-child position, and you couldn't possibly imagine judging happiness from a post-child position?
Do you think I would be more happy right now if I had a child? I live at home, and I am a hostess. Do you think I would be more happy? That's a genuine question.
Do I think you'd be happier with a child? Well, if you had a child, you would be with a man who you thought was going to be a good husband, right? You'd be married.
Well, that wasn't my question. I was asking about if I had.
Well, no, your question's loaded with. I wouldn't advocate for you just having a child. I would advocate for you, first of all, being married to the church, and that the person you're married with is sufficient to have children with. I'm not saying that's easy to just snap your fingers, okay? Don't get me wrong. I don't think at 18 you could just do this. I'm not saying.
No, I understand.
Most people, like you're like, let's use an example.
Sure. I'm talking to her for a second. Can you maybe not make it about you for a split second?
There'd be a good example here, though.
Matt.
Yeah.
If you did have a child, from your own standard, wouldn't you have already married the person? From your own moral and ethical...
no, I totally would already be married.
Cool. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so if you're already married and you have children, you're in love, you found the man of your dreams, you have settled down. What I'm pointing to is just an invitation for you, Mac, is to understand that maybe the thing that you think is readiness now is judging from a standard that you only have access to now, and the standard for happiness and fulfillment fundamentally changes after you find that man and after you have the children. That's all I'm asking you to consider.
No, I think maybe if I was with someone that I see myself getting married to and being a great father, I would maybe be more open to having kids. I still think I'd want to be a little bit older than I am now. I'd probably want to beat teen pregnancy, and I'd want to, do things that I enjoy first. Like I love playing soccer. Like I could not imagine not playing soccer. And so I wouldn't want to give that up to be a mom right now. I think in the future, eventually I'm not always going to want to play soccer. I'm not always going to want to be in school. I'm not always going to want to go out. But when I'm ready, I'm going to be open to give all that up to have a kid. But I also think that you could say that readiness to anything, like you never know what you're ready for until you're doing it. That could apply to anything, not just kids.
Correct. That's why I don't really use it. Myself didn't think I was ready to have a child, and it turns out I was.
Yeah.
I thought 100% not, though. I like fully. If you heard me speak as a person, you'd be like, "Don't have kids, dude." Like,
well, I'm glad that you had kids. I'm glad that it was something that makes you happy.
How many kids do you have?
3.
3. Are they older, younger? You said you've been
No.
with your wife for 10 years, 20?
They're younger.
Oh, how was it back to back?
Yeah, every 2 years, which is pretty ideal. I think.
I was
everyone,
gonna say,
think
do you feel
Mitch,
like you
should
did
go
it better
for-
like
for
that with
6.
having your kids 2 years apart? Do you feel like that was more better for what you wanted to work out for you guys? Were after one, were you like, oh yeah, we're gonna have more? Did it kind of break your seal?
I still want more. Still.
Yeah. How old's your youngest right now?
3.
Oh, so barely. Okay, so see, you're right there. Of course you want another one. That's why,
Yeah,
'cause
you're
they're
on that
already
time
outgrowing
mark.
it.
I think everyone should just go for it, right? I think people were healthier when women were having children earlier. I do understand modernity and the kind of culture we're living in now. Maybe it doesn't occur as workable. It's harder maybe to do it. It's harder to live a traditional lifestyle. It's harder to live a Christian lifestyle. But the thing is, like, there's no alternative. You know, the only alternative for women, and this is where I kind of feel bad for women, is that you guys really do waste the most important maybe 10, 15 years of your life, which is ultimately going to be the cornerstone and the bedrock, the foundation of the rest of your life, your legacy, which is your children and your family. Ultimately, and so you're in a harder position in a way. Men are in a harder position because we need our brute force. We need to protect you. We're called to die sometimes for it. You're called to be motherhoods, but you do have a time frame that men don't have. And I feel like women have been in sort of denial about it, and now they're starting to sort of like face the facts where they're like, well, maybe feminism sold us a bunch of shit where I can own a Mustang and a pink fucking blender, and I have a dog, but ultimately you wake up at 42 with wine-stained teeth, alone, hoping to be invited to a wedding so you can talk to a fucking groomsman.
I will say, wait, actually pause. I don't think I'm wasting my time. I don't necessarily know if it's always wasting my time because, like, I mean, personally, I view myself as a high-value woman. So I'm like, I don't think I've met any high-value guys that I would want to have kids with. So I don't know if I'm wasting my time. I just think that I'm just not jumping the gun.
Yeah, I was going to say, in order for us to settle down, you know, maybe
Final thought on
you
this.
guys, the men also waste their 10, 15 years partying around, you know, sleeping around. That's totally valid. I have like a strong will. I will not date anyone in their 20s because I know that men usually are in a stage of their life when they're trying to figure themselves out, when they're partying, when they're not ready to be loyal. So maybe we are ready when we're like 19 or 20, but the men available aren't
That's statistically
available.
true until he has a career and
Until he
everything
has a
locked
career,
down.
like how
he won't
you
know what he wants
can't
either.
expect us to settle down with like the first guy we meet, but this guy still lives with his parents.
That. I think the bigger problem is that I think children need to work earlier. I think everyone needs to work earlier and grow up faster. We're in this like elonged state of neoteny. Neoteny is like basically this frozen state of childhood. And I think modernity and technology, I don't have a blame on this. It's just that it's allowed us so much just resting room to not do anything because we can eat, we can order Amazon Prime, wings delivered with a fucking drone.
Right.
We're not pressured to develop, right?
very
and we have to
spoiled.
force our own development, right? And this is why I'm so stern on this, is that you have to activate your own development. You have to actually take part in it. You can't just sit and wait and be like, well, I'm going to see what happens. Maybe if I find the right guy, you have to like figure it out. Like, and women have a shorter time to figure it out, you know? And so this is why I stress it. This is like I might be harsh, but this is like, I'm trying to reach people, and men are a part of this. You know, they really are a part of it. Young men who just want to get laid and stuff, they're leaders, right? And so they're leading women to value giving their body away.
Well,
right?
if they're leaders, why they're not doing a great job? Because, you know, like you said, if a man is the head of a household, you know, they're supposed to lead. Where are these leaders? These leaders are being driven by lust. They are being driven by their fleshly desires. They're not prepared to be a father figure. They're not prepared to be a leader. But
if they are, they are the women prepared to follow?
I said personally, yes.
No, you guys are like, no, I just want to go to Tuscany. Let me go to Tuscany. You're like, I want to write a book. I always wanted to release poems. And you got all these fucking. I just got a ukulele. I just bought one. You know, I want to do a YouTube channel. Like, and the men who actually figure this out earlier, and there are more and more younger men, by the way, figuring this out. It's still low percent where it needs to be, but they are going, oh shit, I need to find the woman, and I need to make her a mother, and I'm going to be the man of the family. And they look out into the fucking vast sea of destruction, and they just see chicks just mouthing off. I don't need a man. They're all drunk on the street, fucking Tua.
I feel like that.
This is your generation.
I'd also like to add
I
something
feel like
whenever
that
you're done.
matters a lot about like where you're living too. I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion. I feel like if you're in a city, you're probably, those two people are going to have a hard time finding each other because there is a lot of people that are just bullshitting around. But I don't know if you're.
Where do you find them? Yep, Mac.
Maybe if you're in like a more traditional city, like a cute little countryside.
Look, I got to
town.
move it on, guys. I got to move it on.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let me get this pulled up. Okay.
Am I through 6?
No, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, there we
shit.
go.
Okay,
Wow.
shots fired.
That's so mean.
All right,
Wait, why did they
Zulu
say
Niner.
that?
Where does the
I think you'll make a great
separation
mother.
of
That'd be a
where does the
I think
separation
so
of
too.
Thank you.
where does the separation of church and state come into place? My religion doesn't believe what you do. My wife is a partner to me and an equal to me in decisions. If she wants, I flex. If I want, she flexes. That is equality. Well, Zulu, what is your religion? That would be helpful to know what it is. But Jim Bob is an Orthodox Christian, so he could obviously explain this better than I could, but my understanding is Christianity is patriarchal and the man is the leader of the household in a Christian biblical marriage. So, but anyways, here, I actually wanted to get to a couple things here really quick. Are you guys high, you two?
Yeah.
No. Well, not anymore.
Okay.
Like earlier.
Go to
but not
yen and
anymore.
no.
I made a note.
We were when we got here, yes, and then
Earlier. It's wearing off, but
now it's wearing
you-
off. But it's just more like, I don't know. We're kind of really listening to what you guys are saying.
Okay.
100%.
What's his name? Jilly Bob?
Billy Bob.
Jimmy Bob.
Jimmy Bob. Okay.
Jim Bob.
He referred
Bob.
me as Red Shirt. My name is Ruby.
Okay.
Right, and I'm Carly.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ruby. Yeah.
Ruby shirt.
Not
Ruby. She looks like a ruby.
I'm kidding. Ruby. I'm kidding.
All right. Thanks.
Billy Bob. I mean,
Bob.
what's the,
Jim Bob. It's Jim Bob.
Jim Bob.
Okay, Jim Bob.
I'm sorry.
Are you also under the influence? I see you.
No. Yeah. Of one beer.
That's
But I said
been,
you too.
yeah, right. No. In the last 3 hours, you're telling me you were sipping one beer. Okay.
was sipping a lot.
Oh, one. I got this in like 10 minutes ago. I wasn't sipping. I was sipping this. This is water.
Fuck, my bad.
Equally exposed.
All right.
I wish I started earlier though, based on the panel tonight.
All right, Gage, thank you for the membership. So going to you, Mac, I had a question for you. So I want to touch on the age gap thing really quick because we
Elite.
kind of shift off of it. We were talking about Leonardo DiCaprio. You said it was creepy. Why is it creepy?
Because he's 52, and every time his girlfriends get a little bit older, he gets a new girlfriend who's even younger. And to your guys' point, you guys were saying, maybe something changed and he wanted to have kids, and but obviously that's not what he's looking for. He's just sleeping with young people, and so I just think it's a little bit creepy, at his.
Yeah, are age gaps in general creepy?
Depends.
So how about a 30-year-old dating a 20-year-old?
That's not creepy to me.
No. Think if they're on the same
But if
maturity
it okay,
level.
so if it is, I understand.
A 30-year-old cannot literally be the mother or father of a 20-year-old, unless they
So
had
you're
him at
saying
10.
if someone can be like your parents, that's kind of weird.
Right,
too?
that's weird.
what you're saying?
That's your
but there
cutoff
is
if they could- okay.
13.
And just to be
there's
clear, when it
parents
comes
who
to
are
the-
12, there's parents who 15.
Yeah. So when it comes to the age gap
Yeah.
thing, though, do you have the same energy for women who date younger men?
Yes.
And is it just as equally creepy?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not, you don't have a double standard with it.
No.
Okay. Why is it creepy though? You've
I think
stated
more for
this
women, I
age
think it's
dating
not-
this age, but why is it creepy?
Normally, when I feel like it's for women, it's normally they need to feel young, and so it's I just still think it's weird. You're date someone your age that's the same maturity level, especially as a woman. I don't know if you're a lot older and you're dating a guy that's a lot younger. They're probably very immature,
desperate,
and so
yeah,
it's
sounds a
just
bit desperate.
odd.
Well, who's that woman who's, it doesn't really matter. What about men dating younger? What's your diagnosis there?
I I think it's kind of the same thing. You want to be younger, but I also think it's just like a looks thing. I think guys are attracted a lot, like, well, I guess women, it could be the same way. I still think
Do you think men care a lot about physical attractiveness?
Yes.
Absolutely.
When do you think, so I know women have a different opinion on this,
Yeah.
the male gaze, female gaze, but as it pertains to the male gaze, what do men find younger women more attractive?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do looks matter a lot to men? Gotta keep it
yeah.
on.
I would say,
yes.
I would say someone with like a healthy mentality.
I say
would
looks
be
lure them in.
attracted by
Looks definitely
looks
lure a guy
first.
in.
Yeah.
But then eventually, as the relationship progresses, again, if this man is like mentally like healthy,
Yeah.
then, looks matter only to an extent, because if you're beautiful but nasty on the inside,
It makes you rotten
makes
on the outside.
absolutely
Yeah.
no difference. Like, but I do think it's shallow of the man if he likes a woman that's beautiful despite of her being ugly. If he knows that she's like a nasty like woman inside but beautiful on the outside, I think that makes
Yeah,
it
but
a man that's
attraction has to come first. So
yeah,
And then-
attraction.
Yeah,
And that's
I
fine.
do think that.
like both men and women
Yeah.
That's
are
what
going
I'm
to
saying.
like the
Be
first
attracted to
thing.
each
yeah,
other.
I mean,
Looks will
so
only
But
take
yeah,
you so far.
I agree. So if
Yeah.
you're like
Wait.
really good looking, but you're a piece of shit, okay, cool. But like if you're good looking and you're a good person, or you're like average looking and you're a good person, or you're ugly and a good person, I'm pretty sure that guy who's good looking and he's a good person is going to outcompete the other men.
Yep.
Just like the woman who's a good person and attractive is going to probably outcompete like the average looking or ugly woman who's also a good person.
Yes.
People care about looks.
Yeah.
So
Where did?
That's how
yeah,
we're
we all agree with
wired.
that.
Yeah.
but she's trying to rebut my argument as it relates to age gaps. Yeah, you're like
Oh,
presenting
what
like a counter.
What did I say? That was like.
Yeah, well, I don't. Then
Combative.
why did you? It wasn't. Well, you're introducing. We're talking about age gaps. So are you just like dittoing? You're just.
No,
I
you're
think
just
what it
adding
is
to
is
it.
you asked me
I didn't say
if
anything.
I think it's because like older men think that the younger girls are attractive. You asked us that, and then she was saying yeah, but she was
Right,
also
I
saying
mean-
it. She was just saying it's also
Okay,
shallow.
but yeah, personality matters. But
Right.
like, let's get back to the actual conversation.
Well, I think with
age
with age gaps, like I tend to date guys like one of them I'm dating is 46, the other one's in his 50s. I'm 29. But when I was your age, I might think that's a little weird.
Yeah.
But now I
Well,
just
'cause
feel
I
like
just feel like
that's-
I'm so close to a
It's a little
child's
weird,
age.
kind of. But at the same time,
mean,
it's like it's
you-
what they
I
literally
am a
like.
child. Like
you're an adult technically.
well, yeah, but okay.
Legally.
Then legally.
I still have an adolescent mind.
That's true.
Right. You can't even rent
Well,
a
I
car
didn't
till
turn
you're
like I didn't turn
25.
18, and all of a sudden I'm like I'm an adult. I'm gonna act like
I
an
mean, you are legally an
yes,
adult.
I am legally an adult.
But
That's
your
correct.
brain's not fully developed till you're 25.
Yeah, but your brain is closer
I'm still a
to hold on.
teenager.
Your brain is closer to that of an adult than it is to a 10-year-old.
Wait, I did not say that my brain's.
You
like a
said
10-year-old.
your brain is adolescent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's
What I
what
meant is that I'm still gonna act
I would
like a
say
teenager
it's more like
because I
naive,
am
maybe.
a teenager.
Maybe more juvenile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
juvenile. That's a good word. I don't know. I'm just saying that just because I turned 18 doesn't mean that all of a
Okay,
sudden
yeah,
I don't.
sure. You can still be
Doesn't mean you
immature
can
at
be-
Yep.
18.
That's exactly what I'm
and
saying.
you can still be immature
At
at
30.
30
Yeah,
and
no,
40
that's true.
and 50.
That's just why I was saying it's probably a little bit more creepy because more people my age.
Wait,
are,
so if the ick factor, the creep factor is just dating somebody who's immature, what's creepier than a 35-year-old dating a 20-year-old?
that wasn't the
who's-
only
hold
creep
on.
factor.
Sure, but a 35-year-old who's dating a 20-year-old who's like remarkably mature and emotionally intelligent and all
see
that
anything
stuff
wrong with that.
versus a 40-year-old who's super immature. What's creepier?
I don't think there's anything
don't
creepy
think that-
between the age gap you just described.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's
well,
just
okay.
case by
She-
case.
well,
I think
she thinks it's creepy.
So
The
I
20
think it's case by case,
Really?
and I think in a broad way, like you were saying, in a blanket term, not an exception, it's creepier. But if it's okay, here's a single exception, they're really mature, maybe it's not as creepy in that exception. Like,
But what's actually creepy about
I think she's
men
saying
having
if
a
you're old
preference
enough
for
to be
younger
my
women?
dad. That's
yeah.
when-
So if it's a younger woman and she's like basically any other teenager, like still acting like a teenager, and he's 52 and he
Okay,
could have
how about
kids.
this? I'm 35. I'm 35.
Yeah, you didn't even let me finish.
Okay, finish. Go ahead.
Okay, so if he's 52 and he acts like an adult and he acts like a 52-year-old and he's going after someone that acts like a teenager and their lives are completely different, your priorities are different, that is creepy. This could be your daughter. That is creepy.
I agree.
I agree.
What is creepy about it? Are you saying that her age, or
No,
'cause
I'm
you're
saying
growing in-
the
The emotional
mindsets, the
differences,
age,
yeah.
all of it.
Okay, so what is the minimum age gap that you would say is acceptable? Because look, it's really easy to like do these sort of arguments where we're just, okay, we're going to pick like a 70-year-old dating like a girl who just turned 18.
Right.
I think it's much easier for you to forward your position on that. But like, give me the minimum, like, is
Like
30
an
and
age
20, is that unacceptable?
No, I said earlier that probably wouldn't be as unacceptable because I feel.
But it's still, to some degree.
It's acceptable. That is acceptable.
Okay. Sure.
There you go.
Wait. What if you, Mac? What if you're 18? You said you have like a, like the mind of a child right now, and
Mind of a teenager. That's what I meant.
Years.
Yeah.
Well, let's say you wait 10 years,
Yeah.
and you're let's say you're 30 something, 35,
Okay.
and you just didn't develop that much. You're still sort of childish, and a 50-year-old wants to potentially make you the mother of his children, his wife. Is it still creepy if your development didn't actually go that far, maybe 2%, 3% in advance?
So I guess what I thought was creepy is that it's just someone that's barely legal. They don't have a lot of experience in life. They're immature. It's not necessarily the immaturity. I mean, like, so say your daughter. Do you have any daughters?
Fine. Yes.
Okay, so
but
say
I
you have a
don't-
daughter. She's barely 18, right? And I guess say you're 52. Say you're the same age as the person she's dating. Is that you wouldn't think it would be creepy if she brought home your
That's a great
coworker, your
point.
friend?
No, not just on face value. No, like for instance,
You would
I'm-
be
So your
okay with your
18-year-old
18-year-old daughter
just
dating
brought-
your
Let me
friend?
fucking answer. Shut up for a second.
Whoa.
So
Wow.
if I,
You better
if
calm
I-
down.
Shut up.
Wow.
You can't answer a question and bark.
Yeah,
like a
you guys,
chicken,
if you're going to
okay?
ask him a
Like dog
question,
kicking.
if you're
But
going
you were
to,
doing it to me like literally 5
yeah,
minutes
but I'm the
ago.
host, so I have
I'm a
like a bit
man.
more leeway. I have a bit more leeway to
Okay.
interrupt and stuff. But look, if you guys are going to ask him a question, let him answer. Go ahead.
Not a compliment.
So, if the value, I'm going to judge the man by his values. So if the man is in the church, if I would only look at that from a view not from creepy, but from logistics of fatherhood. That's the only way I would look at it. If they had the value, that would be really the deal breaker. If they shared my theology, if they were in my church. That would be a deal breaker. The only argument I would have, it wouldn't be a creepy argument, because that's really not an argument. That's just an argument from incredulity. That's just like saying icky, therefore wrong. That's not an argument. And so the only reason I would present to advocate away from it, if I did advocate away from it, would be practicality. That is to say, it's not that it's creepy. It might be the case that the 50-year-old man marrying the 18-year-old man may at some age not be able to fulfill his duties as a husband or a father in a shorter period of time. And so it's ideal that they're closer in age, but it's not because it's creepy. Does that make sense?
Okay, so you
Yeah.
would be okay with your daughter, 18 years old, right? She brings home a guy your age at the time. That's fine? And then you're just going to pin it on
I
the
mean,
church?
I
That's the guy. I just told you. What do you have? What do you have?
No,
in
I
your
understand.
ears?
I understand
I
what you're.
just literally told you the whole entire hypothetical. Did you just not listen?
I understand your hypothetical.
it's
I guess,
very
yeah, I guess I
fascinating.
understand. I guess it would just have to be, I guess creepy is just based on your opinion. That's all it is. I mean, like,
No, it's-
I'm not
yeah, it's
saying that,
arbitrary, yeah.
no, I'm not saying that just because I think something's creepy, it's wrong. It might be right in someone else's situation. I can just still think it's creepy.
Also, Also, Jim Bob, what do you think about this argument? So, for example, and it is an interesting argument. Like, well, what would you prefer or want for your own daughter? And it's like, I think a father could even say, well, yeah, I think I might even have like a slight preference towards a woman dating a man, within a couple years of her. Maybe he's like 3-4 years older.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily, even if you have that preference, that doesn't mean that you're precluded from being okay with her dating somebody a bit older. In the same way, for example, as this, you might say it would be your preference. Or it would be more ideal for your daughter to date somebody who's a billionaire, but you would also be okay with her dating a millionaire or even a guy who makes $100,000 a year or even $70,000 a year, whatever it is. So just because there could be a preference or leaning towards, yeah, I could see like, okay, if she finds a fantastic guy who's like a year older than her or the same age, that could be optimum in the sense of like, okay, like if there's a big age gap, here's one potential downfall. He could maybe like pass away a little sooner than would otherwise be ideal, but people can die at any point. But does that track for you
Yeah,
at
no,
all?
it makes sense. It makes sense. It's just that it's interesting. These hypotheticals always come down to like sort of like what you want to eat off a menu, essentially, reduced to preferences. And I'm pointing out to something larger, which is very important in all of these conversations, is that what is your worldview? And for my view, an Orthodox Christian perspective is the filter through which I'm determining my answers to all of these things. And so without the worldview, all you have is just what I think off the menu. And I'm saying that's not working anymore. That didn't work for women in feminism. That doesn't work for utilitarian progressives. That doesn't work for atheists. What I'm pointing to is that ultimately you need a paradigm and a worldview, and honestly in modernity today, a lot of people are just without it. It's sad, but I'll play my own violin music even. It's sad that people are judging their ethics from their own personal preferences, and that's ultimately all that's happening here. I mean, it's toast, cooked.